All right, here we are. We are going to start inviting people to our Empower groups. And this is the thing you want to spend the most time on. I promise you, when you invest time in inviting the right people to your class, you will find some fruit to your efforts. So don't spend a whole lot of time on your content. That's why we provided you content. You have 30 days of graphics and text. You can customize a little bit, but seriously, don't spend a lot of time on that. Spend your time inviting people. So there are a lot of different ways that you can invite, and we've played around with it. April and I have both done these groups several times now. So we've tested them, and we've actually had some of our members test them with us as well. So they've given us some feedback. And some of the ways that we've been inviting have been through different methods on social media. So you can do your typical Facebook post where you say, hey, I'm doing this group and we're going to talk about natural living over 30 days. It's not all going to be Young Living products. It might just be a tip about clean water or whatever. And you can share little bits about what you're going to share. It doesn't have to be long. My most successful post that I did about our Empower groups was like 2 paragraphs. And I just shared how I was so grateful in the year of 2020 when everything was crazy that I had these natural tools for keeping my family healthy. And I felt so confident in my health and wellness during 2020 when, not many other people did. So people saw that and they were like, oh, I want to learn those tips. Like, I want to be confident in my health and wellness in 2020. I don't know what that feels like. And so I invited them. I said, hey, I'm doing 30 days. I'd love to have you. Just comment below if you want to be added. And I had over 100 comments on that one post. Y'all, I'm not a influential person on Facebook. I have my normal life of people on there. It's just people I've known over the last 36 years. And so it was really fun to see those faces pop up. Some of them were people I'd never heard from about oils before. Some of them were prospects that have been on my list for a while. Some were current members, maybe members that had kind of dabbled in their oils, but not really gotten into the lifestyle. Because there's a difference between people who diffuse their oils and people who are really bought into natural living. And so I was so excited to have an opportunity to invite them into this 30-day experience together. Now, I also use Insta stories a lot. I use Insta stories and they kind of pop on over to Facebook stories sometimes when it works, right? When technology works for you. And my Insta stories are my everyday life. I try to share what our family's doing, what oils we're using, what products I use. I intermingle what stuff we're eating and activities we're doing, all of that stuff. And so there's always an opportunity to invite when I'm sharing. And one of the things that I love to say is if you are sharing something, you have to have an invitation of some sort attached to it, whether it's a class invitation or an invitation to something like this Empower group. So for instance, I was refilling my Thieves hand soaps and just showed how quick and easy it takes less than 30 seconds to refill. And I talked about how I loved that I finally understood that natural living and green cleaning and organic living and all of that was not an expensive thing to do. It's very affordable. It doesn't cost me much to use my Thieves hand soap. And I showed my little trick for diluting. And I said, hey, if you want to learn more about these natural living tips, I'd love to invite you into my 30-day group. And so I got some people through that too. Now, also, don't discount personal Facebook messages. We've talked about the whole, sending the message to your friends. Hey, girl, I hope you're good. I'd love to invite you into this group. That's not how we roll. I really believe that Young Living is set apart in that way. And we've done a really good job of not being those people. And so let's continue that. And a lot of times my messages are just to people that I know I've talked to about Young Living. I don't spam the people that we haven't talked to about oils. If somebody has a tip for doing that effectively, let me know. But as far as I'm concerned, if someone hasn't had a conversation with me, I'm not going to reach out to them about oils. But I'm going to reach out to them and I'm just going to say, hey, I'm doing this thing. I thought you might be interested because we talked about how you were looking for a cleaning product that didn't give you a headache every time you used it. Make sure you pull on those personal conversations when you're inviting people. And I like to keep notes when I have a prospect list on what we talked about so that I can easily refer back to that. So, so think about your conversations with people when you're sending out these messages. And be sure to give yourself time to make these invitations to the group. 2 weeks is a good rule of thumb. If you're planning on starting the first of the month, go ahead and start inviting, start talking about it. Whether you're doing the actual inviting or not, you can talk about it. You can say, oh yeah, you know, I'm doing this group and we're going to talk about natural living. If you want an invitation, it's fine. You know, be casual about it. It doesn't have to be this grand event that you're inviting people to. You're inviting them into a journey to learning about natural living. So, so give yourself about 2 weeks and lead up to it with a lot of just like drops of little areas of your life where you're initiating that invitation. So be sure you're hitting your prospects, your inactive members. We talked about inactive members. They have oils. A lot of them still have their oils and they probably don't know how to use them. And this is an opportunity to re-engage with them. You've got new members who want to learn more about this lifestyle. We have members who are not on ER that maybe order, you know, their Christmas spirit once a year and that's about it. So you want to help them launch into that natural living lifestyle with this content. And this is a great opportunity to do that. So you want to have time. You want 2 weeks or so of time to reach all of those people and gather a group that's going to be really effective.
Absolutely. And don't forget that we live in a really noisy world, right? We are competing with a whole lot of noise on Facebook. Lots of other posts and lots of other craziness. And so you actually have to invite and share your story, inviting people over and over and over again. And here's the thing. So it is awesome. I have loved this tool for personal inviting. So I invite people that are on my prospect list and I have converted several of them into the Young Living lifestyle within a few weeks of our 30 days. And so that's exciting. But what the beauty of a strategy like this and of how our business works is duplication. Okay. So you don't want to do this alone. You can team up and do an Empower group with members, inactives, even prospects together, or you can teach team members to lead their own, right? There's two things. So if I'm leading an Empower group, yes, I'm going to invite all my people. And one of the things that I love about the Empower groups is I have an education group for my team. It's got like 3,000 members, and I don't have 3,000 members on my team, just so you know. I have Curious in my team too, but my group has like 3,000 members in it. So I know that like this many people in that whole group are actually seeing what's going on there. This is not to replace my my education group that's like there for forever. This is a way for me to focus on a small set of people for a short amount of time and just give them some real attention. So I don't invite my whole like 200 people prospect list that I've been gathering for 5 years. I focus on like 10 people that I want to start with, and I want to get those 10 people in my group. So that's the first thing. And I'm going to be able to, turn some of those over and they'll become Young Living members. And when I do that, I start adding to my group, right? I start adding to my Young Living team. But what I want you guys doing is not just adding to your team. I want you to start multiplying. All right. And we multiply by duplication. And this type of business is called network marketing for a reason. We have to network. What does that mean? It means we have to get to know people and then we help them share with their people that they know. Okay. We use their networks. And so when you create an Empower group, think through the 10 people, for example, or the 15 people that you want to invite to your Empower group that are on your list, your inactives or your prospects, or those people that you really want to engage with that are on your team. Don't try to do 200 people at one time. You get to redo this over and over and over again. So give yourself the chance to really focus on that small group. And then what you're going to do with your inviting, like Julie said, it is key. If you don't spend time inviting, Empower groups are not going to work for you. Okay. They're not going to work. You're not going to have people in there, right? So you're going to do your inviting, but you want to give yourself that 2 weeks time, because Once you get some people into your group, you want them inviting friends too. Okay. So I often will offer a great incentive at the very beginning when I'm talking to my participants about inviting their friends too. And I'll do this two ways. I'll do a post in the group that says, hey, we are 5 days out from getting started with mine were called Living Naturally groups. So Living Naturally group starts in 5 days. And I would love to fill it with your friends because I don't want them to miss out on all these great tips. If you invite 5 friends into our group, then you will automatically get a Simply Home book that I love to get from the oil supply store. Okay. So I gave out these prizes for people who invited their friends, and it worked like a charm. Now, the key though is I also sent personal messages. Hey, Heidi, did you see that in the group I'm doing a giveaway if you invite some friends? I know that you're going to love some of these tips, and I bet you know some people who've been like looking for some natural remedies. Who could we invite in to the group? So then my participant, Heidi, becomes 5 or 6 participants, depending on how many people she gets in our group, right? And it starts to multiply, so that the duplication starts right there. And that is how you grow exponentially in your Young Living business. So Julie shared some great examples of how she did some inviting. And so I wanted to add to that as well. I did a whole lot of posts in those 2 weeks. I use the same 2-week time frame, and I would like to tell my story. And at the end of my story, I would put a little invitation to the group. For example, I have a 13-year-old, and I so wish that I had oils when she was 2.5 because she got possessed by a no sleep demon. And she was like screaming at nap time, screaming at bedtime, screaming in the middle of the night, screaming at 5 a.m. because she never wanted to sleep. And I wish I'd had oils. And so usually I'll share a picture of her, like, because she used to sleep in all these crazy, weird ways when she was little. And I'll share a picture of her like that and say, hey, we're going to share some great sleep tips in this 30-day group I'm doing next month. You want to be a part? And so I'm thinking about who my market is, who do I want to speak to? And I'm telling some stories and inviting them to the group. Then one of the things that my sister-in-law did that I stole when we were doing a group together is that she did some stories like that and shared the link, but she also just did something super simple. She got on her Facebook another day and said, hey, who would love 30 days of wellness tips? Raise your hand. And then she got all of these comments and was able to add all of these people to her group. So do it in different ways and in different formats. But don't forget, as Julie said, making sure that you are also adding in those personal messages. So I was able to do that. And then my first Facebook post, what they did was pull in people that I didn't even know were quite interested in natural living yet. So it pulled in those people, but the people on my prospect list, it was that personal connection that I made by texting them or sending them a Facebook message and inviting them into the group and giving them the link right there so that it can make it super easy. So this is truly an easy button, but you spend your time up front making sure that you're inviting over and over again so that you have a great group to get started in your first Empower group.